Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is May the 18th, 2023 on the ancient moon calendar and 2024 on the ancient sun calendar. Just one moment. Let me shut this off. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign living ancient Article 3, Moorish American Al-Moroccan, Universal Court Action. We are the sovereign living justices, and in honor of our ancient Aramaic language, Eko E Ana, that is, I am in Aramaic, Pauline Denise Ritchie, Sovereign Living Justice in Capitis Diminution Nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are Capit et Corpus Juris Legalis, which is our ancient statement in Latin that we are the lawful and legal natural head and body for our empire. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet, and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state for Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District for Columbia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Earthwide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today, we are exercising the law by our sovereign status, which is the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3 living United States District 4 Columbia Court, and we are the sovereign fiduciaries, original creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, possessors, and titled beneficiaries for this cause for action and for all causes for action. We are peace, we are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign ascension. We've issued a universal creditor's bill for possession and custody over all land, all natural resources, all commerce, and all other property. We are not at war. We are the one true God nation, and we hereby exercise all eternal, ancient, original sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. So the first thing that I want to point out to the Moorish matriarchs, we just honored the Moorish matriarch for Matriarchs Day on Sunday, I believe Sunday was the 14th. And we want to make it known that the original Christians whom we created, that know who they are and they know their proper place and have returned to the land, and they've always been here, really. They never went anywhere. And when I say the original true Christians, I'm talking about the ones who their Christ looks like us. Those original true Christians call us, the Moorish matriarch, the Hadagit Deity. The appellation that means undefeated, invisible victory by God, who is our Queen Częstochowa. That word is a Polish word, but in reality it is an ancient English word, Hadagit Deity. You can see the word deity in there. But that is what they refer to their God, which is the Moorish matriarch. This icon is now being toured all over North America, as it is said to be from the time of the beginning of the true Orthodox Christianity. And the icon that we're referring to is this photo. We call it a photo, but that's a little bit irreverent. I don't mean to call it that. I don't mean to be irreverent of their icon. They call it an icon because an icon is not painted or drawn. An icon is a writing. It looks like a portrait, but it's a writing, and there's meaning in every bit of it. The link that I found this information at, I'll put that link in the chat, and it will also be under this video on YouTube at Light Tajiri Bay channel. I'll go ahead and put that. Just one moment. I'll put it on the screen. Yes, thank you for that. Let's see. Preview while sharing. Okay. Thank you so much for that. So, oops, there is the Moorish matriarch with her son on her lap. Just one moment. Let me. Okay. Yeah, and thank you for that in the chat. We won't even. We'll keep going. So here, let's go ahead and do away with that. Just one moment. Thank you, indeed. Just one moment. And so, here, let's just do just a little bit of housekeeping. Just a moment. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat. I didn't put that other link in the chat. That was an imposter. Here's the link, and you will know that it's me because it will state that I'm the host. Okay, and so this icon has different colors in it. Red in their icons, it means imperial, and it also means God the Queen. So when we do our red writings and we send our red writings out, they even know that it means imperial and it means God the Queen is speaking. Or our sons, which is the sun is featured here. Blue means human, because we are God in human manifestation. Green is the Holy Trinity, just like our 5-pointed star that's on our flag. Green is the Holy Trinity. And gold is eternity. And then here at the top of her, at the top of her turban, or her covering, her head covering, not turban, her head covering that she's wearing, she has a 5-pointed star. And that 5-pointed star means virgin. And we spoke about what the virgin birth is really, what it really is. The virgin birth means that those who have not copulated with animals. That's what a virgin, that's the definition of a virgin in the older dictionaries, is one who has not copulated with an animal. And so that is why the virgin birth is what it is. So Um, with that being stated, they are literally carrying this all over our land and pointing to it and stating, this is our God. This is our God and her son. And so, and the video that I just put in the chat is yes, indeed, is he does a great job of explaining the Moorish matriarch and what the Moorish matriarch means to them. So, with that being stated, let's move on. Some random facts where Christianity and the Bible, the Biblios, is concerned. Now, I just want to point this out because it's important. You know, there are approximately 215 scriptures in the Bible on quote-unquote faith. There are approximately 218 scriptures in the Bible on quote-unquote salvation. And there are over 2,000 scriptures in the Bible on money. So that should tell you what the real salvation and faith is all about. It's about money. Don't let anyone fool you. That's what it's about. I did not put that link in the chat. Let me get that out of here. Okay. And thank you all for your patience as we continue to. There, I put that. The last link that's in the chat is the one that I put there. So, with that being stated, let us keep that in mind when we're hearing people talk about certain things. You know, in the last era, we heard a lot from the commercial Christians, the corporate commercial Christians. And again, we're not mad at Christians. We're just pointing some things out so that we all can see. We love Christians. I have Christians in my clan. So, and I grew up Christian, you know, in a Christian. They taught Christian beliefs in my household, and so, you know, but we want to be sure that we are seeing things for what it really is, and what we've been taught versus this information age, and where we are now. We must see the truth and know. And so we know also that our ancient sibyls actually wrote the first Bibles. Bible just means book. And so, as we stated in the past, even the word Bible was when the lettering was written on the book, it actually said Sibyl. But the incompetent and thick-tongued ones who saw that, the S looked like a B to them. So they said Bible. But it actually said Sibyl because it was written by the ancient sibyls. So our ancient ancestors knew all about money. And they were pointing and saying, fix that. That's the key. That's going to be your key to fix it. How do we fix it? Create our own. And then use the systems that are here at Earth to use our own money. That's important. I want to show you just as we're looking at things like supply chain and we're looking at things like commerce, that our ancient trade routes are a grid and they're properly numbered on the land. In the Biblios, it says, I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron. And I will give thee the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, the law, which call thee by thy name, am the God for Israel. We are the law, but we have the word law in all capital letters because all law is commerce as well. And so the crooked place is being made straight. again, the ancient routes are properly numbered. If you look at this from the bottom, where it says 10, as you go up, you can see 10 going up is 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60 are not pictured on this one, but they're there and they go from one end to the other. 70, 80, 90. So this is how we gridded our land. Okay. And then going across, it's in increments of 5 and 10 as well. So 5, 15, 25, 35, 45 is down here at the bottom, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95. So going across, it's in increments of 5s. Going up and down, it's in increments of 10. That's our grid. That's our grid. That's our supply chain grid. So you can go from one end of our estate, and it's not an end of it, it's just points on where the rivers meet. They call them oceans, but they're really just rivers, because our estate is much bigger than we were led to believe. And so we wanted to just point out that the crooked places are made straight when we know the numbering system of our grid. And so we have many different ways to go from one side to the other on our own land. And this is going to be important as we continue to traverse and travel and do commerce on our land. Okay? That knowing that there's more than one way to get from one side to the other or from the top to the bottom. And this grid, it stretches out earth-wide. Okay? So, but we wanted to show it to you the way that it's done. And these are interstates. These are interstates. You know, they have, on the East Coast, it's I-85, I-75, I-65. That's what these numbers are. They're all interstates. Our land is one land. Okay? And so the Belt and Road Initiative, this information is a part of that, because the Belt and Road always, it starts and stops right here on our land. Okay? And so we want to point out that we can see in the nobility that we can, and we must know our land, just know it from start to finish in this manner. And then when you start talking about latitude, longitude, natural area codes, this is yet another identification mechanism that can be used to properly traverse our land. Okay, so with that being stated, that's just kind of like it seems like a random factoid, but it's not random, and it's not a factoid, it's actually a fact. That's important information. Okay. Let us go then to our next briefing, subject matter briefing. Have you, and I would like to get just a little bit of feedback on this. For our discussion, as part of our discussion. Okay, thank you, Islam. So the feedback that that I would like for us to just discuss briefly is the Noahide laws, because the Noahide laws were hypothecated by the foreigners who were previously doing business as Jews. Okay, And so with Noahide laws, those are the ones that were hidden from us and seemingly hidden, not really hidden. We didn't know that we were actually the people, the chosen people. Always have been. And in reality, chosen is not really even that's not even really a thing when you're the only people. It's not really a thing. But for the sake of those who prefer that term, we'll use that term. The ancient Noahide laws are the seven, well, it started out as 6 laws from Adam and Eve. Okay, those are laws that God gave to Adam and Eve in the beginning. There were 6 Noahide laws. One of those laws that has gone throughout time is that even Adam and Eve had to have their own court. And we know that those are anthropomorphic stories. Those are children's stories to get people to understand a precept and a concept. Noah had to have his own court. Everyone throughout the ages, all of the original people, and when I say original people, those stories we've heard about Adam and Eve, and I'm putting that in air quotes, Moses, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Ruth the Moabitess, all of them, they all did things according to their courts. Whoever's court whoever activated and instituted the court, that was one side of the court, and the other side of the court is who is it that capitulated to those courts. And by capitulated, who is it that surrendered themselves to those courts? Just a moment, let me put that out of here again. Okay. And so the Noahide laws, that's not me in the chat right there. So anyway, the Noahide laws have always required that we have our own courts. We've stated it before that those who were previously doing business as Jews always, while we were asleep, they enacted having their own courts in their own neighborhoods, and that's why they all lived in a place that was near each other, and a lot of times they had gated communities and things like that. Well, that's because they were enacting having their own courts, their own quote unquote law enforcement. They even had their own jails, but they didn't use them very often. It was the mosque that they sent each other to. And I don't know if mosque is the right word. The temple is a better word. They sent people to the temple to be dealt with when they were doing things. And so it's only been until recently that they have actually capitulated back to corporate, quote unquote, law enforcement, to where they will go to jail now, and they had to appear in those corporate courts. Just recently, they're in the last 30, 20 years or less in some instances, they've capitulated back to picking up the phone and calling 911 and having that routed to some corporates, which is a contract. And that's how those neighborhoods and things got busted up, broken up. And so that's a lesson for us to just watch and look at, and ensure that as we continue to do this work, that we keep those things in mind. So with that being stated, regarding the debt, Uh, the Constitution talks about the debt in this manner. Of course, we are restating this. But it says the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services, is suppressing insurrection or rebellion shall not be questioned. But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss or emancipation of any slave, but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. So, what this is saying, or what we're stating that it's saying, because we get to say what this means, is that the debt, the public debt, it first has to be authorized by the law. So when we do 1099-C affidavits, we do those affidavits, then that's saying, okay, that debt is a valid debt, and we have canceled that debt. And if we don't say that about the debt, then the debt has nothing to do with us until we acknowledge it first and then do away with it, because we have no debt. But because we are the original indigenous United States, we're the creditor state. So the creditor state can validate something and then say, I cancel that. That is actually called servicing the debt. Now, when it talks about suppressing insurrection or rebellion, that would be attempting to do something with debt when the competence is not fully there. And we're competent, and trust and know within yourself that you're competent also. Because again, jurisdiction can be invoked at any time. At any time. And so that's why we encourage everyone who's demonstrating that before you demonstrate, go ahead and just clear the slate, do a spoken termination of corporate contracts and invocation of sovereign jurisdiction. And then after you demonstrate, and even while you're demonstrating, invoke again. So that, because that spell casting of invocation of jurisdiction is very powerful, and it is a protection mechanism. Okay. Okay. I did put the Constitution, that link. I did put that one in the chat. I did not put the one previous to that in the chat. Okay, that's someone pretending to be us, pretending and acting and faking. So, are there any questions, comments, wisdom? Just one moment. Let me. And you can star 6 for any questions, comments, wisdom.
Greetings.
Grand Rising, Justice Willie. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
All is well, thank you.
Nice. Looking very beautiful as always.
Thank you.
I found it interesting. I know it's a little off topic, but I found it interesting today that I got a video with the French president was apologizing profusely to what they did to the African continent. Did you get that video?
I did.
Wow.
I did get it, and I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing?
It is. It is. I am always suspect of things like that, though. I'm always
Yeah.
because first and foremost, he doesn't even have the authority to speak on that because he is not who he says he is. He's a fake.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they say things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and if we acknowledge that, then we're acknowledging that they had some authority when we know they didn't.
Well, they're apologizing for what they have done to us and our ancestors in the past, and that is where I am happy to at least see that they recognize the evil that they have dished out to a set of people who are loving, peaceful, and they colonize, invade, just destruction upon destruction, and now they're coming to terms with what they have done. So at least I would take it. I understand what you're saying, but I'll take it. At least they own up to it, that they are responsible for a lot of evil that they've done to another set of people, which is just yeah. But anyway, I yield. I just thought I'd say that.
I affirm your energy with regard to that, because anything that's going to bring the heirs some relief I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because in the past they have been sidelining the issue, but at least he's man enough to say, you know what, we owe you an apology. And even if it's not genuine, at least there's an acknowledgement. We have done wrong to you people, and we are sorry and we apologize. At least they own up to and take responsibility for the evil that they have done to our people. Thank you.
Islam. Thank you, Justice Willie. I appreciate that. It's a beautiful energy and a beautiful sentiment to say that, to state that. Again, anything that's going to cause the heirs to feel the relief and to feel the validity and the acknowledgement, we affirm. We're all for that. Absolutely. Because, they got to be in pretty bad shape to say stuff like that, to be honest with you, to act that out. They got to be in pretty bad shape to do that, to say something like that, to enact that. And, just like our Prophet Noble Ali said, he said that, that only when they're facing death will they tell the truth. That's the only time that truth can ever come out of them. Islam, Empress.
Yeah, greetings.
Grand rising, indeed.
So, in addition to what was just stated.
Can you speak up just a little bit, Empress, because it sounds a little low.
I'm sorry. Okay, so let me get closer. So, in addition to what was just stated, I was just here thinking earlier, and I know they hold the French. They hold the monetary economy of a lot of the so-called colonized African nations, right? Because the African nations have, has been said that they have to deposit their money in their French account, and I guess at their discretion they may give them back some portion of it, but mostly it's in a loan form. So if that mouth service is not backed up by action of correcting that, then that's just air they're expressing. That's how I see it. And on top of that, I'm also thinking about the Swiffen, because in order for, I think the Swiffen system in Sweden is over all the banking system. Because if you want to open a bank, you have to go through them in order to do that. Is there some way that can be rectified?
Yes. So it has actually already been rectified. We just have to acknowledge that we've done that on a wider scale. So first, let me go back to your initial comment about
Polly want a Mercedes. Polly want a Mercedes.
About your what you stated about them backing up what they say. They're actors. They can't back it up. They're actors. They have absolutely nothing to back up anything. They have nothing. If they had something, then they wouldn't be continuously talking about debt and a debt ceiling and debt this and debt that and how they only, they can't do this and they can't do that. Think about some of the things that they've acted out, such as being ran out of Afghanistan and being, and that whole coronavirus situation and all of that, just to cover up that they have nothing, no money, no finance, no resources, nothing. So they're not going to be able to back up anything that they act out at all.
Just like you, Polly, no Land Rover, no Mercedes, no free domicile.
One of the things that we do have in terms of, and this is to your second question about the system, all they're doing when they talk about systems is pointing us to it and saying nationalize that. Nationalizing systems and nationalizing resources is how the systems and resources are placed on the public record as solvent. See, when they are foreign and alien to every land that they're claiming to be on, that means that they don't have their hands on any resources, natural resources, nothing of substance. And so we have to state and put things on the public record and use the system to activate the wealth. That's our job. Fiat is not worth anything. You cannot go out and open up a gold mine and pull gold out of it and then say, okay, we're going to sell all of this gold for fiat. That cannot happen. Now they're good actors. They were some good actors. But when you go to the gold mines that are here on our land, yes, you'll see equipment there. You'll see things there, but you won't see any digging. You won't see people pulling up and saying, look at all this gold I found. We literally have to authorize that first. Then you'll see it. But they don't have anything but paper. They are a paper, or were a paper tiger. And when we all continue waking up and stop looking at them like they have something for us, because they don't. But they know that as long as we're looking at them going, hey, you owe us reparations, you owe us this, you owe us that. They know when they hear that from the heirs that we still don't get it yet, that they don't have anything for us, and that we create our national systems. Earth-wide, we create our national systems, and the national systems are already there. All we have to do is speak to it together. They are a gigantic, or were a gigantic distraction. But everything they say and do, they're acting, saying, point this out. They're saying, look at this and nationalize it. So the SWIFT system And the SWIFT, you referred to a SWIFT system. I've not heard of that one. But the SWIFT system, the SWIFT financial system, had to be nationalized. And we've done that. And we now have it so that we can send dollarium back and forth electronically by email to each other, which is all the SWIFT system is. It's a glorified email system. So when you talk about finances, that is, I'll give you an example of proof that the SWIFT system was just email. That's all it is email. That whole, if you go back to the quote-unquote WikiLeaks documents and you look into the quote-unquote Hillary Clinton emails, that whole enactment, you will see that they talk about them sending a server to Ukraine, quote-unquote. They sent a server there, and they were trying to set something up there. Well, all they were doing, and there was 33,000 emails that were deleted by the actor that were in that. This is all theater for us. Those emails were all the quote unquote SWIFT system. That was all just them. They just do a group email of all of them doing business as nations. That's what they were doing, enacting nationhood. And they were saying, okay, whoever we put out of this email group, that means you're out of the SWIFT system. But as long as you're in this email group, whenever we send some quote-unquote money to another country, we'll just put in this email the documentation. We'll attach the documentation and let everybody in the group see that 2.5 million was sent to Ukraine at this time on this date, because here's the documentation. And then Ukraine will, quote unquote, Ukraine will reach into the group, their actor will reach into the group and say, we accept this in front of all the other participants in that email. That's all the SWIFT system was. And then a bank, quote unquote, there.
And yet you are too scared to do this in person.
And then a bank, because they have the banks involved in that same group email, the bank will say, okay, we will draw up the documentation for this to go out over the system.
Pauline never does anything in person herself. She's never bought groceries using.
And that's how they do their quote-unquote SWIFT system. And they'll say that it's at the Netherlands, and they'll say that it's at Ukraine and here and there. Those places, it's not there. Everything starts on this at the North American continent. Why? Because we were supplying, let me state this properly.
You're
all
too
capital
chicken shit to do it in person and show.
All capital. We were supplying capital to the rest of the earth. Capital being everyone was using the all caps that we had over here that we control to eat and to do the things and to do commerce and all of that. They were using our capitalism to do all of that by way of the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the Bank of International Settlements and the United Nations. That's how finance works, earthwide or worldwide rather. That's how it was. They were enacting it. And so all we've done to ensure that we stay, that we continue to use our own system is, again, stay terminated from anything that they've done. Stay terminated from that, and then look at what they did and restate it. And as we restate it, you can see that things are falling right, not falling into place, rising into place. So financially, the SWIFT system was glorified email. That's it. Just like blockchain, they talk about Bitcoin, la, 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 la. Blockchain is glorified email too. It's on that same internet highway. That's all a blockchain is. It's nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. A blockchain is just a mass email system, but everybody can see everybody else's emails. So when someone posts a contract up, everybody who's on that part of the blockchain or who's within that contracting unit can see. It's like us attaching an affidavit to an email and sending it out to everybody who's on that part of the blockchain. So blockchain is not even anything new. It's not new. The only thing about the blockchain that they were claiming was different is that once you send something out to everybody, everyone already knows who it came from. So then nobody can go behind you and claim it and then put it out as theirs. In other words, they can't make any derivatives from it, and supposedly, but we know that that's not true with that enactment of blockchain either. And that's how come the securities, the SEC actors were able to come in and it's like throwing a bowling ball down the alley with that whole blockchain situation. And they used the actors, the FTX actors, to do it. None of that stuff is rocket scientist stuff. It's not. We're the rocket scientists. The Moors are. We're the rocket scientists. And when we say Moors again, we're talking about all nations. Islam nobility.
I'm sorry to interrupt your flow of thought. I just want to say something briefly.
Sure.
I don't know if you'll be agreeing to do that. I have a very powerful app. It does voice recognition. Once it picks up the voice, it picks up the name, it picks up the address, it picks up your car, everything. That's what we do. There's a voice that constantly harasses you on this program. Don't mute him. I want to pick up his voice, and I'm going to get a picture of him so you get an idea who this person is that's harassing you. So whenever he speaks again, let him speak for a while. I want to capture his voice because I'm going to expose who he is. Please, don't mute him.
Sure, we will do that. We know who.
Oh, you know him? You know who he is?
One of the Moors on YouTube found out and was like, "Hey, this is who that is."
Oh, you do? Because I was going to track him. I got a guy arrested in Ghana was trying to extort money from me, and in China. I got 2 people arrested just by doing that alone. So they think they can hide.
To see how it works, Justice Willie. So
yeah, we talk off the air, but if you want us to expose who he is, I can capture him for you. Just let him speak. I want his voice.
Sure, absolutely. We'll do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is that supposed to be a threat?
That Islam,
Islam nobility.
Because literally not even 5 minutes ago when that joker interrupted again, I said, man, I really wish we could find out who this guy was and shut him down permanently. And,
well, you know what? We know who that is.
I don't, but you know what? The fact that you have nothing else to do but to come and bother these people who are so lost and so messed up and so backwards, and you want to waste all your energy coming in here interrupted. Go away and just let them be if they're dumb and idiots like you think we are. That makes you worse than us, right? But anyway, not to derail, but literally my thoughts were he needs to be exposed. And when the
they did. One of the Moors did it on YouTube.
Well, that's good.
And and let me say this. Let me say this about it. Let me say this about that. It's the same way in the Biblios. When I believe it's Revelation, where in Revelation, when the Antichrist was finally exposed, the people were saying, "Is this the one this little bitty thing, is this the one who caused the nations to who weakened the nations? That? When we saw on YouTube what was going on, we just laughed because we were like, we see now why they have nothing better to do.
And boy, isn't that just like little Toto exposing from behind the scenes the Wizard of Oz?
It's like that. It was like that. It's like a little imp behind just nobody. Just nobody. So with that being stated, we'll move on.
After 5 years of asking you, trying to ask you a question, you still can't answer it.
Again, they want in very badly, but we're gonna stay on task because let's go where we really going.
So you still can't provide a list of everybody that you sent to Guantanamo Bay. That's the first question I ever asked you.
Just a moment, Morris, because we're going to get where we're going. So, of course, I mean, again, we could go back and forth. But why? Listen, if this was a civil rights meeting, they wouldn't be here. Come on now. Let's just think for a moment, Morris. If this was a civil rights meeting, they wouldn't be here acting like that. So let's keep going because Islam Empress.
So I begun to look up the let's see, which you had previously stated. I took a screenshot because I'm a screenshot. Ancient how do you say that word? Noahide laws require that we have our own court. So I began to research, right?
Yeah.
And it says here are the Noahide laws. Do not deny God. No idolatry. Do not murder. Do not steal. Do not engage in sexual immorality. Do not blaspheme. Do not eat of live animal. No eating flesh taken from animal while it's still alive. And number 7, because there's only 7.
Mm-hmm.
Establish courts and legal systems to ensure obedience of these laws.
And as long as those that were pretending to be fake Jews obeyed those, they didn't care what else they did.
Just saying. That part. And so when we go to the depths of, do not deny God,
mm-hmm.
that part. Go to the depths. Do not deny God.
Yes.
And then when we know that we're God, then we can then establish courts and legal systems to ensure the obedience thereof.
Yes. That is why when the first thing we had to do was acknowledge that we're God by declaring our nationality and stating that we're not dead, we're the living, and that we created all. That's first. And number 7 being, our courts must be speaking at all times, which thankfully our courts speak all the time. Every time we send a document out with court action language, that's our court speaking all across the land.
Yes, we will expose you all too.
There it is. All across the land. All across the land. Even the part about eating meat that's alive. In other words, don't walk up to an animal that's walking around and start eating. That one. It was 6 laws from the time of Adam until the time of Noah, and then it was the 7th one came after Noah. But the 7th one, the court one, was always there. It was the one about the animals that was not there. From the time of Adam to the time of Noah, the Noahide law stated not to eat animals at all. And then after Noah, the Noahide law about the animals was changed to state just don't eat them while they're alive. You have to kill them. You have to sacrifice them first. But they have to be sacrificed in a manner that is not violent. Because after Noah, our ancestors knew that we were going to create a group that could eat animals no matter how the animal is, because because they're animals too. They could feed off of each other like that, and it would have been cannibalism. Now I will say this about that, because I was having this conversation last night with one of the sisters in the territory. When we were in our sleep, all of the quote-unquote birth certificates were registered with the USDA. And see, for corpses, agriculture doesn't mean plants and things like that. It doesn't mean that. Agriculture means cattle and chattel, animals. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which is not real, everything was registered there in terms of birth certificates and things like that. And so that is why we create our own and then send them to the proper places, the proper courts, which are lower courts coming from our higher court. So now, every call we want to state the following, because it's important. The principles that we share are not our opinion. Along with our sovereign, powerful demonstrations and study, these processes that we share are based on principles of stare decisis, res judicata, ancient positive supreme law for the land, long established in sovereign order. Erudite principles and processes for daily practical application to intelligently govern our vast estate every day is what our ancient ancestors have given us to share with the ancient sovereign nations, tribes, clans, states, and governments at earth. For this we are grateful. The growth mandate for the empire is we want to emphasize that just briefly here for just a moment. Is there anyone on this call who cannot assist someone with nationality, with the nationality process?
Islam.
Islam.
Sarili Afeni Shakorbe.
Mm-hmm. So, what is it? How can we assist you in assisting others with nationality? Do you need the documentation?
So I got an email, the emails from last week,
Mm-hmm.
because of the infiltration that has been happening in my devices. I'm just not sure what to trust at this point. I don't know if it's authentic. So, and I'm like kind of afraid to click on it.
Okay. So let me say this about that fear.
Islam.
Just one moment. Empress Karima and Empress Karima, before you speak, I want to thank you so highly for your excellent work and the email that you sent out last week. It was just top shelf, top tier, ace, number one. I meant to say that the moment that I saw it, but of course we got sidetracked and got busy doing other things. But Empress Karima, thank you so much. The email that Empress Karima sent out last week is what nationality should look like.
Islam, can I read to you guys which ones I got? Because I have a couple of them that I know for sure aren't you guys, but
hold on. Let Empress Karima. Hold on, please. Hold on. Don't read out the other ones because we don't want that. We don't want to advertise for them. Okay. Empress Karima, go ahead and if you wanted to go ahead and state, I yield the floor.
Islam. Thank you very much, Empress, for recognizing the work. I really appreciate that. Empress, the one Sorhili Bay. The email. I'm sorry. State that again.
Sorhili.
Sorhili, Islam. The Moorish American Consul at yahoo.com. That's the email that I sent with the nationality documents in it. So the other ones, I'm not sure who they were from, but if you're not comfortable with them, you can go ahead and delete them. And the email Moorish American Consul at yahoo.com was directly from me.
Islam. And likewise, this is Angel Bay, and I sent an email to everybody's email in the chat as well, and it is as stated on my speaking box at the moment. That's my email, because I do too also get, spam email, so I will put it again in the chat, but that is my email.
Okay.
It starts with my appellation that you see on the screen, Angel. So that is that part. Islam.
Thank you, Empress Angel. Empress Karima's email that she sent out last week is what nationality should look like. And I'm not saying that any others don't, but hers is very well stated ministerially. And so anyone who would like a copy to have that email forwarded to you, if you would, you can put your email in the chat, or you can directly inbox Empress Karima here. You can see her in this meeting. Thank you, Empress Karima, so much for that, because we do a lot of work, and with all of us working together, it makes the workload so much easier. And that's really what I wanted to emphasize with what Empress Karima sent out, is it makes everything so much easier for me when we all step up and just say, and if anyone needs assistance with this in regards to this particular Congressional Assembly, that we have Moors who will step up and say, I'll help them. When we first started having these Congressional Assemblies in 2018 or 2017 rather, when our great and grand Co-Consular General Justice Shalay Morbey was here, and when I say here, I mean participating in this particular arm of the consular venue. We were trying to help as many people as possible and doing so many things at once. But it's so good to have us all carrying the load. And that's why this is so important, because there are many, many, many who are waking up who want to know about the nationality process. And let me say this, you don't have to know everything. All you have to do is know how to give them some documents and tell them to study. Because the ancestors, the energies, their seeking energies will bring them to, the information will be there. It will pop up like that. They will manifest the information themselves. All you have to do is forward the documentation to them. That's it. And say, go ahead and study. And I'm here if you have any questions, but your study will do the work for you. Your energies will do the work for you. It works like magic. I'm telling you it does. And that's why I'm so grateful for Empress Karima, stepping up and just doing it the way that Nobility does. And also to Empress Angel for doing it the way that Nobility does. just stepping up. And I'll go ahead and put this out there since we're on it. The Empress's will is our job. We must step up and stand. And that's not taking anything from our sons. It's not, because our sons are doing their part as well. We can't do anything but win when we work together like that. So with that being stated, please make sure, I see plenty of emails showing up in the chat. Thank you, because it's going to be important that we all know how to at least hand the documents out and say, okay, now when you start to study, because of your bloodline and birthright, the energy is going to come and assist you in your studies. We couldn't, when I first nationalized in 2017, we didn't have where we could just pick up the phone and call people every other day, or send them a text message every other day, or send them an email every other day and get a response. There was not that when we first nationalized. So we had to do what we could, and then of course, we have those times where our teachers, where we would send our teachers something, because we didn't bother our teachers very often, but we're grateful that they were there when we did send up and send out and ask questions and things, but we counted on the Spirit to guide us, and that absolutely happened. So there is a question in the chat: are we ever able to send copies? You can send whatever you want to send. Is that what you're asking? Sovereigns can do whatever they want to do.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, sovereigns can send whatever they choose to send. Yeah. So with that being stated, subject matter, Justice Malik Akil Bey. No, not Justice Malik. Justice Akil Kimnebi Bey. Thank you for this link that you sent. I did not have the opportunity to respond. I did have a chance to look at the link, and it is in direct connection with our last Congressional Assembly, where we did the bid bond, the payment bond, and the bid bond, the payment bond, and the third bond. Just excuse me. I don't know how to make the phone stop doing that. So come in to the meeting. So on the bid bond, payment bond, and performance bond, that's what it was. I'm going to put this link in the chat. Yes, it is performance bond. Thank you, Empress Denise. I'm going to put this link in the chat because, again, we've talked about getting conveyances and domiciles and property and things like that. We are the government, and so we are general services. We're not general services administration. This link is a study tool and a tool for us to restate everything. And the general services, because we're general services uses bid bond, performance bond, and payment bond to acquire the things. Okay? And so let's take a look at that process with regard to conveyances. And again, Justice Akil, thank you for this. Now, when we're going over things like this, Morris, Just know that, again, we're not talking to people, we're talking to a system. Okay? Is everyone able to get the link? Okay, good. We're talking to a system. That system, we speak to the system first by affidavit, and then we are the system. So we are the United States General Services. That's who we are. That's a tool that we use. Let me put it that way. That's a better way to put that. That's a tool that we use. The bid bond, payment bond, and performance bond process is how, again, it says you can use GSA Fleet to purchase vehicles for your agency that span a wide variety of vehicle and fuel types. It says here, according to FPMR 101-26.501, GSA is the mandatory source for federal agencies to purchase any new non-tactical vehicles. Other eligible users can also purchase vehicles from GSA. Other eligible users just means anyone can do that. Just about, especially when you're talking about the nationals. But again, we purchase using our status as United States. We're the state. We're the empire state earthwide. We're the United States earthwide also. And we can use the apparatus that is the state, because it's a tool, but it's also us. It's our estate to get the things that we want to get. And again, we had to declare our statehood and then restate everything. And that way you don't have to deal with things like someone saying, oh, you're using our stuff, that you can't use that because la 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 la. It's restated. Everything that we do is restated. It's outside that jurisdiction, any inferior jurisdiction. It's way outside. And again, we've laid the groundwork for all of this during these past years of congressional work. You know, more as when we were voting on things and doing things in terms of discussing things and putting documentation and agreeing to demonstrate the documentation together. As we've been doing those things, we've been working up to this point right here. There was a lot of rebuttal that needed to be done. And we've done that. And we continue to rebut any fraud. Okay? So with vehicle purchasing, we suggest that you do the study on this process. And again, the bid bond, payment bond, and performance bond is how these things are acquired. Okay. Is this system the principalities of the air and not flesh and blood? Justice Empress Chitali, we've restated these processes, and that's why again we don't speak to G.S.A. We don't even talk to them. We send it to the right court using our addressing and mailing processes. We have government mailing process that we use to speak to our courts. And we'll say this too, that the system that we're talking to is an ancient system. The system that's on the screen is a corporate template. It's a corporate example of what we restate. So we're not even using the same thing. It's the difference between, well, I'll say it this way. Whoever it is that creates the documentation is the author of the system. And again, that's why we've been saying terminate all corporate contracts so that you're not a debtor and using a debtor system. So when you look back at all the things we've done that we put in place, those first 6 documents tell the tale. If you want to know what system you're using, who have you leaned? That will tell you what system you're using. Lean GSA. Lean GSA. Lean them, because they're not the real general services. We are. And we're not general services administration. We're just general services. That is under our authority. Okay, so principalities and municipalities are the same thing. Principalities and municipalities, same thing. We're the city, we're the state, we're the nation, we're the federal, we're the government. There is no other. And thank you for that, Empress Chitali, because it gives me the opportunity to reiterate that we don't contract with corpses. We don't contract with corpses. That's why we don't send it to the same places or the same address. So as you're sending things out, for example, and we'll just state this really quickly. Let's see. Just a moment. Let's just take a look really quickly at the process. We showed you, again, bid bond, payment bond, performance bond. That's what this system uses, our system uses. And that's why we had to restate them. So please go back and watch that video so that you will see that we are the United States for America and not the United States of America. So whenever we're quoting things like this FPMR 101-26.501, we must restate that. We have to look at it and then restate it. So let's take a look at it really quickly. Federal Property Management Regulations. So let's just take a look here really quickly. Make sure this is the right one, 101-26. One thing I learned when I was working in contracting as a contracting officer in the corporate in my sleep is that all of the line items have the same number somewhere along the line. That's how you know what you're looking at. So, for example, this is consolidated acquisition of new vehicles by General Services Administration. Even though this number, 908.7101-2, is not the same number as the federal property management number, it kind of is because it's still 101-2. 101-26.501. And so all of that, there's going to be a USC code out there, a United States code, that has 101 in it somewhere, referencing this same process. So they're all tied together. All of the line items are tied together budget-wise. They map one to another. So they're referencing here the CFR 101-26.501, which is the same as the FPMR 101-26.501. And that's the point with regard to appropriations. Okay, and that's for those accounting folk out there who see these numbers and know that when the numbers are the same, it's going to be the same line item no matter what agency it is. Or not agency, but regulation. And generally, it will follow the same monetary path to the Treasury with those numbers, because those are line item numbers to a budget. So that one took me someplace else. So let me see if I can try this once more. FPMR. I don't generally like to go to govinfo. Oh, yes, I do. This one is the right one. Okay. Authenticated U.S. government information from the General Printing Office. And again, when they say authenticated, it's not real. We have to authenticate it. So 101-26501. So let's see. Here it is right here. All of this really. Two 6501. Okay, so this is the CFR, which is the codes for federal regulation. Now, Moors, as we're looking at this, we do have the authority to state these properly, because there's going to be some, because this is an example that we're supposed to look at and restate, there's going to be some things in here that we must properly state, and we'll do it along the way. As we've actually already restated it. In fact, we restated back to what our ancestors stated it to be and intended for it to be. There, it's restated. So let's see, 5012 6. Let's find 6 5 -26 26501. Okay, this is all 501 anyway. Yeah, okay. So all of this is what, and I'll put this link in the chat also, so that you can just look at what this is about. It covers standard passenger vehicles, equipped for ordinary operation. And ordinary operation is just your day-to-day operation. So even our conveyances that we use on a daily basis can come from here. The ones that we use with our families, just ordinary use of it. Because we're the government 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I won't say 7 days a week, 7 days a day cycle. 7 days of creation cycle. Standard passenger vehicles, items or vehicles included in Federal Standard number 122, other than those listed as standard basic units, are considered to be equipped with additional systems and equipment for passenger vehicles. And again, passenger is not necessarily commercial. Well, and I can't say it's not commercial because it is, but it's still something that you can use on a daily basis as you go about your government duties. And we're always doing government duties no matter what. Requisitions submitted to GSA for the acquisition of new passenger vehicles and light trucks under 8,500 gross vehicle weight rating shall be in conformance with Public Law 94-163 and Executive Order 12375. New trucks and buses shall be requisitioned in accordance with the provisions of this one, 101-26.501. Light trucks, medium and heavy trucks and buses, and again, we're just going to look through here. Here, let me take a look and see what this is also. Federal specification numbers. Federal It took me to a book. Okay, so it took me to the same place. It took me back to the CFR. Okay, so new vehicles shall be procured in accordance with Federal Property Management Regulations and 41 CFR Code for Federal Regulations and Department of Energy Property Management Regulations. Orders for all motor vehicles must be placed utilizing General Services Online Vehicle Purchasing System, Auto Choice. So this is where we get our conveyances from. I also want to take a look here at vehicle availability list. Let me see how many vehicles are on this list. There are about utility trucks, stake beds, sport SUVs, sedans, buses, pickup trucks, shuttle buses, medium to heavy vans, tractors, stake trucks, refrigerated trucks, dump trucks, cable and hook hoist trucks, cabs and medium to heavy cab and chassis is a truck, shuttle buses, motor coaches, heavy duty trucks, dump trucks, cargo vans, ambulances. Okay, so there's a whole different. Again, this is in preparation also more for the commerce that we do, that our government does. Islam. So business people. That's going to be our main focus, is the commerce. That's why we're here. This particular arm of what we're doing is so that when the commerce starts back up again, it's in the favor of the Moors. Go ahead, Nobility.
Yeah. Just heads up, those vehicles or conveyances, they're all a new breed of cars. They're all electric cars.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, they're not just like regular cars. Because they fleets. You can actually buy them in fleet, and they let me see. You have to be like some sort of a corporation or whatever. But
the United States is actually who you really are, who we are.
Right. Well, anybody can get them basically, but they try to give it away to foreigners that come to here to the United States. They want to give it away to like the Native Americans and all this other stuff, but we still run all that. You know.
So the only reason they were soliciting those others and giving it to those others is to enhance the commerce on the land. Yeah. But they know that we are the original. They called us donors, but we're not donors. We're heirs.
Yeah, well.
And so the way our ancestors set it up is that we made it so that anyone who came here could do the commerce while we slept and just watched. We watch them do commerce. We do a little bit of commerce too and see how things go, so that everyone else knows how to do commerce, and now we can wake up and do our own commerce again. So, and again, the process that we showed, that's why when we talked about the bid bond, performance bond, and all of that, that at the top of it we said United States for America. That's not me there. Whoever that is in there that's talking about their light tajiri bay, that's not me. And I am going to put you out. Let's see. Yep, there it is. Impossible. I will admit that it is. Okay. So.
That's amazing.
It's. What can we say? They say imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So I guess I don't know. We're going we desire all of these type of conveyances, and you can also use GSA to, like, if you see something out in the in the retail market, you can also use that same process to get something in the retail market as well.
Islam, that part, because I was just about to ask that question, because I've gone and started searching for what we're working on at the moment, and then there's a section that's called fleet vehicle sales, and so they have specific types and makes and models and such, and then they have numbers of how many they have of a particular brand or make and such. So it's very specific, but I'm sure like we are, so we can command as we desire any type we so choose. Oh, and I found
but it has to be for commerce. It can't just be for show. It's got to be for commerce.
Oh, yeah, understandable.
Yeah.
Yes. And so there is an email that we can send our information to.
What has to be for commerce?
And so
yeah.
Yes. Islam.
Because again, this is general services. General services. We provide services on our land. We are the government all day, every day. And so that is why we go this route. And then, let's see. How to buy vehicles, federal vehicle standards. Again, more, and we'll point you to this. How to buy them. Here it is, and we'll put this link in the chat also. Let me make sure that I have the other link put here. Oh, I did not have that link. I want to make sure that and yes, it's going to take some study, but not a whole lot in terms of the process. The process has been a colorable process, so we're going to make it very simple. We're going to keep it simplified. When I was working in acquisitions and material management at the VA Medical Center at Durham, North Carolina, that was one of my first positions when I first got to North Carolina. My consulate was in the military for 30 years, and we moved around. And so one of the positions that exposed me to quote-unquote government contracting initially was working in acquisitions and material management. And then from there, I went up and up and up and up until prosthetics did some things as contracting officer and prosthetics through an internship that was issued from the White House. And out of about 600 and something applicants, they chose 12 of us out of 600 and something in the quote unquote nationwide to be a part of this program. And so we got contracting officer training and all of these things. So we're familiar with the processes, but they could definitely be simplified because they were. As you can see, it may seem like you got to look at this regulation and that regulation and this regulation when all of them say the same thing. They're just line items in a budget and they can be simplified. So we're going to keep moving forward. This is something that we wanted to put on the table as well. Let us be aware and know that even the quote-unquote car dealerships were they originally got their original how do I put this? I don't want to say, well, and I could say research and development, all of them, the car dealerships that were in connection with the factories. The factories got their technology originally from the government, which was us. So when people say that the Moors, we invented everything and there's nothing new under the sun, we did it the same way that we do our documents. We would invent something and then just put it on the public record, and it was open source. Anyone who wanted to use it could use it. And then when things became corporate, foreigners started putting their names on things and saying, I'll take credit for that, I'll take credit for that, I'll take credit for that. Quote unquote, Bill Gates did not invent any computers, any programs, any software, nothing. All he did was, he and Elon Musk, the subjects, the actors, they have not invented anything at all. All they did was look at our stuff, our writings, our government writings, and say, oh, I know what to do with this. And since the Moors aren't using it, then we'll just claim it and be the front man for all of that work back there that the Moors are doing and have done. So all of the technology for iPhones, for cars, conveyances rather, for computers and all of that stuff's been on the record a long time. We put it in the public domain a long time ago. That particular public domain is being created now by us. It had to be first proclaimed that we're back, we've returned, we are our ancestors returned, and then we create the records so that all of the stuff from the past will come to us in our minds and spirits, and things like that. Yeah, there was. They just enacted stealing. They haven't really. I will say this, and some may not care for this. I'll make this thing stop doing that. Some may not care for what I'm about to say, but the foreigners didn't really steal anything. Everything is still here. All of our stuff is still here. All of our information is contained within our spirits. And when one of us knows something, and I stated this last time because I heard the subject Jordan Peterson say this, and I thought, that's called the collective consciousness. If one of us knows something, we all know it. It will come to us when we call for it. So if one of us knows something, then all 350 million of us know it. 350 million Moors know it. It's just a matter of when we attract that information to us. And the Moors who clean and keep their energy clean and clear, so much stuff will come to you, because that's the key. And that is why subjects doing business as court jesters come and try to mess with your energy, so that you block your own information from coming because you're angry or you're annoyed or whatever. But if you clear that energy and don't let that bother you, the information will keep coming to you and coming and coming. And sometimes you won't even be able to sleep. It'll be coming so quickly. Why? All of the information is in the atmosphere. It's in the frequencies around us, all in the atmosphere. But you must match that frequency to get the information. If I wanted to know how to build a Tesla, a conveyance, because the original Nikola Tesla was a Moor, trust and know that. All I would need to do is just tune into that frequency and to that energy, and tune into that frequency. And once I match the frequency, the information will flow like water. So even when it comes to our money, something that the ancestors have shown me just in the last 24 hours in a more expanded way, let me put it that way, is that when we send our documents that we have put together, just a moment, let me make sure that oh yeah, you better type very quickly. Type as fast as you can, because in a minute you won't be able to. Type quickly. Put it in there quick. Put it in there very quickly. Okay. So, as we are, everything that was put out there on the public record, it has always been our information and that's our stuff. And anything that we want to know about, match the frequency and the information will flow easily. And when it comes to our money, something that the ancestor showed me just in the last 24 hours is that when we send our documentation, like the birth certificates that we created, along with our long birth affidavit that's on legal paper, when we notify the proper vital statistics department, or ministry rather, and again, the proper one is going to be putting the proper address on the documentation. When we speak to our own system, it's automatically going to put 100 million, for example, on the record for that birth certificate that we've created, because just like Sesta QV says when the living speak and say that they're alive. How do you do that? You don't do that with dead documents. You do that with living documents. And once you do that and you send it and speak to the proper court, which is vital statistics, then you can start printing out your 100 million in dolarium, because again, species must be correct. Species must be of like kind. That's what species is. Then you can start using your dolarium to do the things that you're putting on the record. Conveyances, domiciles, anything. Any of the stuff that's here, GSA, you can even use the bid bond process. to do that the way that we showed the last week or the last Congressional Assembly. But the species.
So why don't you ever do it yourself, Pauline? You tell your cult members to do it, but you never do it.
Important. We've shown how we do it. Okay, we showed you how we do it, and so that is how we continue to manifest and put things on a public record. And once we do it, there is one or two things that even in the Biblios, it says that in 1 day, 1 hour rather, it says in 1 hour, everything is that hour has already happened. It's just a matter of us acknowledging and knowing that hour has already happened. Okay? And so it is our job now to go ahead and put on the public record and state the things that we are desiring. State those things. And state that we are competent to use them. This is where our own creation of CDLs, commercial driver's licenses, is concerned. We're the ones who issue that to ourselves. Okay? And there's going to be a series of events that happen over the next few days, weeks, and months that will make it so that things start showing up the way that we've proclaimed them. But there's a critical mass that needed to be not needed, that was necessary. It was necessary, not needed, but necessary. We've done that, and so it is our responsibility to properly claim. Again, everything is already ours. It's just a matter of how you claim it, how you claim, proclaim, and possess it. So we are at possession right now. We're at possession. That's where we are. It was only a matter of time anyway, because, again, everything is already ours. We just had to state it. And I'm using the word state on purpose. And then we also have to not let the words of any inferior creatures create doubt in our lives. Don't allow creeping things to create thoughts. Don't let them dictate thoughts. Creeping things creep. We have dominion over all that creepeth, such as subjects in the office of, and let me put it this way, because our subjects don't creep, they stand. We stood them up already, and we continue to do that. Corpses in the office of corpse. Corpses creeping around trying to question our authority, because that's really what all of that stuff is corpses attempting to question our authority. They know we know our authority. Things showing up, like conveyances showing up and things like that, that's just a matter of time. It's our authority that is now on full activation. Period. Do you know you have the authority to do it? Then do it. It will manifest. Period. And don't allow creeping things. When you want to know about a snake coming into the garden and talking to Eve, a snake wasn't even talking to Eve. Eve just thought that a snake was speaking to her. She thought that. And she started talking back. And the first thing that the snake did was ask questions. Don't you know that you'll be just like God if you go ahead and eat from that tree? Or, Pauline, how are you all doing that? You don't know what you're talking about. Go on somewhere with all of that. We don't allow creeping things to speak on our platforms, indeed. And have us going back and forth on the defensive. Please, get out of here. So with that being stated, are there any questions, comments, wisdom? Islam.
So, I want to share with everybody that I have found something very interesting since we've been putting all these brand new processes on. I have found a way how we can add our own individual banks to the system. That's already there. That's ours. With the processes that you already previously stated from the last meetings, if anybody would like to know it, send me their email, and I can send it to you in your email.
Tell us about it.
Well, what I found out is there's a let me pull it because I was just looking at it. It's called Depository Instruction Branch Data Verification.
Is there a link?
Yes, I actually have a link. I actually have a link. Let me copy it, put the link.
And we'll just look at it now. We'll just look at it.
It's more like a PDF.
Okay. If you'll just link it in the chat, we'll all have it. Okay. There it is. For those who are in attendance, you can go ahead and grab that link. This one did not, that link did not get me.
I'm going to put it in another way.
Okay. Islam, Empress.
Yes. The two links that you have on screen currently, are you able to put both of them in the chat? Because I don't see it in the chat, please.
Yeah, I did put them in earlier, but here, we'll do it again just for... There they are, Empress, in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Islam.
Islam, greeting, Empress Light. May I ask a question? This is Sanjay.
Sure. This is who?
Sanjay L.
Oh, Islam. Grand Rising, Empress Sanjay.
Grand Rising. Quick question.
Yes.
I do need some support and direction. So I went ahead and sent a packet to the place where my domicile.
Mm-hmm.
So they invited me to court, their court, and I'm going to send them an affidavit to invite them to our consular court next month. However, do I send that information also, the affidavit as well, to the de facto court?
Yes.
Okay.
So the way that we suggest, and again, your spirit may lead you to do it a different way. The way that we suggest that those things be done is if they invite their corpse to a court, if they invite their corpse because they can't really speak directly to you, then you restate the invitation. Same time, same place, but it's your court.
Yes. Okay.
That way, going in, everyone is clear that it's your court and not theirs.
I don't have to physically go to their de facto court. I can invite them.
However your spirit says to do that. However your spirit says to do it. Some people prefer to appear at those places, but when you appear, you must state that the court is yours.
May I share something?
Just a moment. Let me make sure that that's clear. Empress Sanjay?
Yes.
Yeah. Some people prefer to appear because, for one reason or another, just court action language and then asking questions and stating and declaring truth. But if your spirit does not lead you to attend and you want to put something at the same time on Zoom or free conference call or something and command that they attend your court, then Islam, because again they don't have authority or jurisdiction over the living.
Exactly. Right, because they use my the other name, not my free.
It doesn't matter which name they used. It's whose capitalism is it?
Got it. Because it wasn't all caps on both names. I said, oh, this is.
Of course it was. Because they're trying to get you. They don't care. See, they don't really care what people call themselves, as long as they can capitalize it and then and kill it, and then have you declare that you're the dead one that they're talking about.
Okay.
You can use the same sequence of letters and state that this is the living me, or this is my living tool, and I get to judge my living tool, not them. We judge our tools, not them.
Right.
They judge their own tools. They don't judge ours, though.
Right. You had and sent the delirium, and they did not send it back.
Well, there you have that, too. Either way, it's been received. It's been received. They don't get to tell you what kind of species to use on your own land.
And or two.
There's some distortion coming from what you're stating there.
Here comes some calls here. I don't know.
To display a head office's branches or a consolidated, download and save the branch. Okay. Justice Asadula, if you would, Justice Nathan, if you would do a little bit more research on what it is and then present it. It'll probably be better to present it at a different time because the links are not manifesting necessarily the way that you're wanting them to manifest in terms of the information that's being presented.
No, that's the right thing. What you have to do is download the detailed instructions and then tell you how to do it.
Okay, thank you. So you all have the link that he put in the chat for that, Islam. Empress Malaya, you wanted to share something. I wanted to clarify with Empress Sanjay just to be sure that she is set with what she's doing.
Yes.
Empress Malaya, you wanted to share something?
Yes, and it was in reference to what Empress Sanjay is going through. I literally just got out of that, and I do have a member on the line with us of our Moorish consul, Denorcia Albe. She witnessed this. I just won or reclaimed and shut the enemy off from my property where I'm staying now. My so-called property management company started an eviction process for me back in August of last year. Long story short, I started sending, this is when I first learned about my nationality. I started sending my writs and everything, but the most recent event is they so-called summoned me, and they had a video summons. So they sent me something in the mail, wasn't sealed, wasn't certified, just a regular envelope, demanding that I show up. So I came, and I dismissed the whole thing. They did not establish jurisdiction or status. She called herself a judge. I told her that she needs to let me know which delegation of authority she's operating under. And they had they took the file. They had the original so-called attorneys or third-party interlopers and sent it to another one. So I called him out for what he was. And they tried to get me to proceed. And I did not allow them to. I dismissed the case with prejudice. I told them they have not established status or jurisdiction and that she was committing federal treason by not showing me her delegation of authority order signed and sealed by Congress and sealed in the Library of Congress. They try to continue to make her proceed, and I shut the whole case down. I haven't gotten one single eviction notice. I haven't gotten anyone coming to my house. People around me have eviction notices on their doors after the fact. So when you're saying you have no fear when you deal with these people, you tell them what to do.
Yes.
You tell them what to do. You tell them who they are and that they need to prove that they are who they are. And every time I told this woman that she's committing federal treason by calling herself a judge and not showing me that delegation of authority order, she muted me. And then she messed up from the very beginning because she addressed me by my Moorish title, but then called me by my strongman name throughout the whole course of this venue. And so I let them know who they were. I let them know who I was and that I was the only delegation of authority that was proven on the record, for the record. Let the record show. And they had to recuse themselves.
Of course.
So you tell them who they are. You tell them who they are and who you are at law, because they know who you are. They just want to bank on the fact that they think you don't know.
Right.
So how you're feeling is natural feeling, but you need to go in there and you need to be the mom to them. You are the mother. You are in charge. You call the shots. If you have children, just like you tell your children, it's 9 o'clock, it's time to go to bed. That's how you have to deal with these people. This case is dismissed. You have not proven status, which is the first rule at law. You have not established jurisdiction. You have not shown me a delegation of authority order, which you are supposed to show and have on your person at every time. And you're calling yourself a judge. You're committing federal treason. You are a magistrate, and you're less than that because you brought me to a virtual venue, so we're not even in your municipality. And that's how I ended this meeting.
Empress, ooh.
You have nothing to fear. You have nothing to fear.
Thank you. I was walking out of the door at my house, and two men said, "Are you?"
I can't hear you, Empress.
It's distorted, Empress Sanjay. Take a deep breath and calm, and then speak again.
Okay.
In the meantime, if I may, for Sandra L., you had a great testimony. I have some additional information that I can share with you if you wish to contact me. I did message her in the chat. Hopefully she has access to that. And she can contact me, and I can share some additional information that would help.
What is your contact information, brother?
I'm gonna put it in the chat for you again.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know what's going on with this system here.
We can hear you now. You just needed to take a deep breath and just because we're very powerful and we interrupt wireless communications when we're up in energy. So yeah.
Definitely. Awesome.
Yeah.
All of this. Thank you for your support. because I was nervous. This morning I woke up and I walked out of my domicile and 2 men approached me and they said, "Are you such and such?" I said, "I don't know who that is," and I kept on walking.
They're trying to get you to be a corpse, and you are not anybody's corpse.
Exactly.
And Empress Sanjay, I have a what I would call a very solid cease and desist order that I put together that I will share with you.
Yes.
And I responded to this as well. You can literally just copy and paste whatever you need on there, but it's solid.
Empress, how many pages is your cease and desist order?
It is 2 pages. One is the cease and desist and one is an assurance.
Okay, do you mind reading the cease and desist? Just read it?
Not at all.
So that the Moors who want to copy that information in the language can do that as well?
Of course, and I will send this to anyone who wants it. And this is, I'll share the one that I sent to the magistrate that was committing treason. She got so mad, and she shut me off every time when I said that to her. And the North
you know, when we first started doing court actions and you know, doing that, even, and we've suggested that even if they attempt to mute, just keep going with your court action. Just keep going.
I did, and I was mouthing through the speaker. She had to unmute me. She had no choice.
Yep.
All right. Taking some time to pull up, but I will read it for you. Okay, here we go. So it starts off saying, order to cease and desist all debt, quote, in quotes, collection attempts. In red, notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. Attention, Alyssa Levine, General District Court Judge. And this is before I need to put magistrate, but I just wanted to make sure they recognize who I was speaking to when I sent it to the court. So the municipality of Mecklenburg County Courthouse General District Court Division with the address, then from Malaya El Rayam, impropriate persona sui juris, proper person, an authorized lawful and legal representative for Millie Mapei Bynum and all variations thereof. And I put the docket number, everything they sent to me, and I said, to whom it may concern, between the months of August 2022 to present, April in brackets 2023, I, Malaya El Rayam, have been contacted via uncertified standard delivery USPS mail correspondence, one mailing unsealed, from live being clerks of Mecklenburg County Clerk of Superior Court Civil Division and live being representative, in quotes, of Loebsack and Brownlee PLLC, namely Chris Loebsack and Jared Schmidt, regarding an alleged debt, in quotes, or debts owed, in quotes, titled or labeled as rent owed, in quotes, or rental payments, in quotes. Be it known that I, Malaya El Rayam, hereby dispute the validity of said debts, in quotes, and whereas it be according to Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution for the United States of America, and it reads, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant any letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, that's the focus for this one, ex post facto law or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. As such, in accordance with Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution for the United States of America, North Continent, 1787, Article 10, Section 1, and Article 1, Sections 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 19, 21, 25, 34, 36, and Article 11, Section 10, 4 of the Section 4 of the North Carolina State Constitution, 1776, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1787/1831, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, 2007, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights on Human Rights, 1948, the 1970 Fair Credit Reporting Act, 15 U.S.C. 1681, and then it says ETSEQ, the Federal Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, FDCPA 15 U.S.C. 692 A through P, you are hereby ordered to cease and desist any and all further attempts or actions to collect this alleged debt, including but not limited to cancellation/termination of any or all services imposed or forcible removal of self and or properties, and any further action, i.e. padlocking or seizure, quote-unquote, methods, pending my intention absolute to remove any and all signatures or variations of my monograph from any of these and all these securities. Please take note that Milima Pay Bynum in all caps and any variation thereof is declining any and all attempts by or from this or any other collection agency or associated party, Italia, with regards to this matter. In addition, you are hereby commanded to inform and or remove from any and all reporting agencies this or any other records along with the same previously stated actions regarding this alleged debt. I, Malaya El Rayam, will require signed documentation, assurance document attached, that you have complied with this demand with a notary signature present. Therefore, all parties regarding this matter are hereby ordered to cease and desist contacting Milima Pay Bynum in all caps and all other variations with regards to this matter, unless it is to notify myself, Malaya El Rayam, via USPS certified mail and or FedEx/UPS signature required delivery mail, that you will be terminating any and all attempts to collect this or these alleged debts and reversing all associated charges or fees. That's the cease and desist. And then the assurance says, in accordance with the foregoing demand, and the list of same people, and this is where they're agreeing, do hereby agree to immediately cease and desist any further form of harassment and so-called debt collection, which is in direct violation of Malaya El Rayam's and representative of Milima Pay Bynum rights under universal, supreme, international, and national law. I understand that it is within Malaya El Rayam's right to seek state/local law enforcement assistance and supreme/federal law enforcement assistance in instances where state/local law enforcement are in violation and or pursue further lawful and legal action against me or us with regards to my or our involvement in these activities, because they're speaking from, this is what they would sign or autograph send to me. If I or we should violate or breach this agreement, I or we fully understand that Malaya El Rayam has the right to consider and or further pursue lawful and legal remedies against me or us related to all incidents of harassment and or alleged debt collection against her by me or my associates Italia. Whereas, should I or we act or behave in such a manner that will result in a denial or breach of this agreement, Malaya El Rayam will be further entitled to any and all filing fees, printing fees, court costs, and any other costs accumulated that arose or may have arisen in an effort to enforce this agreement, in addition to any injunctive relief and or monetary damages that Malaya El Rayam is entitled to before and after this assurance is signed. And it has their name there where they have to sign, and that says to be signed and dated and returned to Malaya El Rayam via certified mail and or FedEx/UPS signature required delivery at specified mailing locations, and I have my mailing location, within 10 calendar days upon receipt of this notice. Any lack or refusal to do so will automatically result in the immediate admission of guilt and fault thereof, further breach of contract, evasion of law of the land and judicial process, and violation of due process, which is protected and guarded by the Fifth Amendment Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution for the United States of America, and Article 1, Section 19 of the North Carolina State Constitution, and as such can and will be used against you in the court of law. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent.
Islam.
Beautifully stated, Empress. Beautifully stated.
I've already sent you an email.
Beautifully stated, Empress.
In the email, I hope it's the same email that you have that is listed on your appellation on the box that you have. And please send me a copy of that, because I have people that would greatly benefit from that at the Territory of New York, because It's something that we all, desire for our security and our person at all points. So please and thank you, gratitude.
Okay, and so there are emails in the chat that are being placed in the chat that want the document as well, Empress. Can you see those, Empress Malaya?
I can. I'm taking notes right now.
Great.
Is there any way to see this chat later in case I can't grab everything?
No. So what I will do is
I don't want to miss anybody.
Okay. What I'll do is we'll just hang out here for just a minute on this, and then just ensure that. And then also, if you could include the government@gmail.com on the email as well, and government has an E on the end, and we'll put that on the screen as well or in the chat.
Islam.
The government with an E it's THE government with an E @gmail.com. Let me put that in the chat as well. Okay, there it is. Justice Willie.
Yes. That was fantastic. Putting together, very, very lovely. The only observation I would make, an adjustment, is that I would use like the 2 or most 3 sentences that precise, asking what you want to do in terms of cease and desist and what have you, and then you have exhibit A or B or whatever, then the lengthy part of it. But always when you're dealing with law and stuff like that, just imagine a judge have 10,000 documents before him. He doesn't have the time to go through that long thing. So what you do, just get to the point and say what exactly you're saying, and then they can get the details. But keep everything together except the first page is just telling them about the cease and desist part. That would only be my recommendation, but it's just an observation.
Islam.
I have a question in regards to the
in regards to what nobility?
Her demonstration of the cease and desist.
Okay.
My dear sister, congratulations on your successful demonstration there.
Thank you.
Did you also, by chance, now was this a lease and a rental or a foreclosure type situation?
This was a lease and a rental. This is an apartment.
Okay, so, and that's why this is a relevant question. So, did you satisfy the obligation of the lease that was signed with your delirium or any other form of payment?
I was until I found out my nationality, and I found actually, in actuality, yes, I did, because the minute that I signed the so-called lease, this apartment was supposed to be mine, and they were supposed to come to me within 9 months and offer me something, but they let it securitize, so they broke the law. So yeah, I did.
That's good, Empress. That is beautiful. Beautiful study, beautiful demonstration, competent, indeed.
Thank you.
And as you were speaking, even before you got to it, but you did mention 15 United States Code 1692. You mentioned A through P. I put G up here because it's important, because I heard you do it in your writing. You identified who the original creditor is, and when you identify who the original creditor is, all collection has to stop.
Exactly.
All collection activity, and that's right here on the screen, 15 United States Code 1692G. We're not really validating the debt. It's actually a validation of the fact that there is a creditor that supersedes all debts. That's really what this is saying, when it's properly stated.
And that it's not them.
It's not them.
They're not the holder in due course. If you can't show me that promissory note from the original creditor that you're claiming to be, then you are not it, and you have no right to claim. All of your third-party interlopers, and that's what I let them know. Haven't heard from them, and they haven't heard back since.
Beautiful. Empress, just beautifully stated and beautifully done.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
Of course. I think you're a dynamic person. This is my first meeting. I was like, man, how much do I have to study to be like this? Everything that comes out of your mouth.
Thank you, Empress. And you know what? I honor you as well. I honor the divinity within you equally. Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Indeed. Are there any other questions?
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I yield. Go ahead.
Empress, like, everyone, do you think it'll be easier if you just email me and I send it to you? Because if you email me, I will not miss it. I monitor my email more than I do text messages. I will not miss it. And I will not neglect any of you. So
you want to give them your email address?
I'm going to write it one more time in the chat. So take my email me, and I will send it to you. The Norsha Albay, Sister Albay, already has, I've been sending her, and she is phenomenal. She's a dynamic person. She helped me so much through this process, and she was by my side during the whole thing, during the whole time for this last instance.
You know, I am just, and again, that's why I send high praise to the Empresses. Because when we work together, it's a wrap.
They can't.
Yeah.
They fear us so much because they know what we can do, and they know our divine connection to the cosmos and the universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Islam.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, Empress. Islam.
I just want to give my 2 cents. I am Denorsha Albay. I was present during Malaya's demonstration on her Zoom call.
Yes.
It was through WebEx, but yes, it was.
Oh, my bad, WebEx.
Beautiful.
And we spoke before the meeting, like doing a mock
court action.
Yeah, a mock court action beforehand.
Yes, we did.
Just in preparation. And we talked about, okay, because you know, like how they troll. So if they try to like stifle, what you gonna do? What you gonna say? And you know, we were attempting to, we planned for being preemptive and how to navigate that shift, that relationship at that point in time. And so we talked about, okay, so if they hit high, how do we go? How do we move? How do we stick? And we literally talked about the muting and the over talking. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to stand by as consular notification and access because we love together. And I was just like, so let's prepare for that. And I acted like a court stenographer of sorts. And muted the Empress. I was right there in the chat, like, this court action, we're not doing it. We're dismissing this and like just had it already copied and paste, copied and ready to paste into the chat because it's on the record for the record. Once it's there as discovery, like, you know, you can try to mute her, but I was there to put it in the chat, you know what I mean? And just like work together and tag team. And that was I would love to engage other Moors and love for other Moors to engage me in that same form and fashion, to be able to be there and tag team and show up together as consular notification and access and show up together as an empire, you know, together as a court, like a court of Moors together. We are a court. It's not one member in a body. We're not one cell. We're collective. And so, that's just my 2 cents. I very much appreciated being able to be there and serve in that capacity.
Indeed. Empress Denorsha, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Why I want to succeed, because she reminds me that don't proceed, just shut it down, because they, just like today, like I'm a reactive person, and that's something Allah has to work on me on, because I'm so passionate and I'm angry and feel liberated all at the same time. Like, I know who I am now, but then I know who they are now, and I know who they taught me my whole life that they wanted me to think I was. So I just have to, that's why I appreciate you. I have to keep my energy, put my energy in the right place.
You're fiery, Empress. You just fire, just pure fire.
I'm very spicy, but that's going to help. We need that. We need everybody.
We do.
We need all of each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, each one of our energies that we have, because we have them all, earth, wind, fire, water, air, we have them all. And when we, strategically do what the two of you did, put that energy together and have those frequencies match, unstoppable, unstoppable. I will say this too, a lot of the things that we have done, and thank you for your acknowledgement as well of our work too. The things that we've done, we just said our mother said do it, so we did it. Even I can't say by ourselves because our ancestors are always with us because we are our ancestors' return. But we just said, however we do it, we'll just get another witness. And when we first started doing court actions, we would always have at least one other witness on with us, to do the court actions. And I'm telling you, look at how far we've come with our court actions. Look, we know we're the court. It has, I'm just grateful that everyone knows their own power. We have our own voice. Each one of us has our own voice. We're the court, period. That is, I know in my knower that is what our ancestors desired for us when they even gave the Noahide laws. They said, look, you can, it's a lot of other stuff that's going to follow all of this, but you get those courts and keep you be the court. Always, you be the court. There is no court but the Moors. And when I say Moors, I'm talking earth-wide Moors. I say Moors because our work is specifically, not specifically because we're not excluding everyone else, but Moors because we know that is our nationality and our ancient bloodline and birthright. And there are so many others that are Moors who say that they're Hebrew Israelites, Native Americans, and so on and so forth. Yes, still Moors. Moors is the overarching, who we are. So for that, we're grateful. Thank you so much for that beautiful testament and demonstration. So, Moors, you have the language for those documents. Even Moors who hear this after this meeting, you can pause the video and craft your own documents based on what Empress Malaya wrote. Okay? So, with that being stated by the great and grand empresses, are there any other questions, comments, wisdom from this great and mighty and noble imperial grand Congress?
Yes, this is Lisa L. I'm in the Texas Republic.
Islam.
And I would really love to, Islam, yes, I would really love to network with some other Moors, especially in this, I'm in the Dallas, Republic.
Okay.
Dallas territory.
Did you put your email in the chat?
No, I'm actually on the telephone right now.
Okay.
And,
do you want to state your email or no? Are you not comfortable stating your email? Because you don't have to if you don't want to.
Well, that's fine. I can do that. I can do
or that. Yeah, write down the Empress's email. Write down the Empress's email because it's in the chat as well. But we'll spell it out for you. Empress Malaya, do you want to spell out your email for her so that she can contact you?
Yes, it is.
Right.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so it's M as in Malaya.
Yes.
I as in igloo.
Yes.
L as in Larry.
Okay.
I as in igloo.
Yes.
E as in Edward.
All right.
G as in Gabriel.
Okay.
37@gmail.com.
Okay.
So should
that's
we?
M-I-L.
Sorry, go ahead.
MILLIEEG37.
Take away one of the E's. So just Millie G 37. Mm-hmm. And I'll put
Okay,
in the
great.
chat one
Okay.
more time. I'm trying to grab as many as possible, but I promise if any of you email me, I will not miss it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It'll be coming from the Proton email.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Islam. Anyone else want to provide any support or assistance or anything of that nature here?
Islam, this is Gloria Bay in Dallas, Texas, and I like to if I can network with the Empress. I put my email there, orana09@yahoo.com.
Orana?
Orana 09@yahoo.com. And I'm Gloria.
I got it.
Gloria, wow. Gloria.
Okay,
so that's Oranaor. ORANAOR.
Okay.
09. Yeah. 09. Not OR, but 09.
Oh, Orana, that's beautiful. And that's at Gmail?
Yeah,
Oh, R9. Okay.
It's in the chat. It says contact me.
Yeah, she can't see the chat because she's just on the phone. She's calling on the phone.
Okay.
So do you have it, Empress?
I give a phone number.
You can just, if you spell out your email, then she can get your phone number in the email because this is going on the public record, Empress. So this is the public record actually already.
All right. My phone number is in the. That's right. It is on this. Yeah, it should be.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, you ready? Let me spell it.
Yes.
ORANA.
Yes.
Letters are 09@yahoo.com.
Yahoo. Okay, great.
And what's your appellation?
Lisa Mariah L.
Mariah L. Okay.
Lisa Mariah L.
Lisa.
That's right, with an H on the end of the Lisa.
Okay.
Islam. Anyone else wanting to either receive support or give support?
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
I'm just responding. Thank you for the correction when I said Swiften rather than Swift account. Maybe I've been thinking that, that thing that you use on the floor. But I do remember it being some Swifting. I do remember it being a Swift thing because we had to do something with a Swift account, establishing one with another group somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean it's been since 2020, so I forgot the exact terminology. But yeah, thank you for the
So do you remember the process that they used to establish a Swift account? Do you remember?
Ooh, okay. I would have to go back in my memory, not off the real top. But I know that they had reached out because I was with a group that was supposed to have been creating like a bank for this group, But anyways, and so and I did it also with the Lumi people. Then I had to go on their website and do whatever. But I don't recall the exact process. I'd have to go back in my memory because it's been like 3 years with some many changes in life. But but I know you'd have to contact them, and there was a process where we had the guy from actually the Swift group came into the group and gave us like a demo of what to do with getting that process going. I remember that phase of it, and I would have to like reach back, to get more information.
Mm-hmm. So, and I'll just show briefly where Swift is concerned. We, in the past, first we had to do it from our national perspective. And so on the screen, you will see we did it in our ancient English language as well, because where Swift is concerned, it's international. And so, each nation speaks first in their national language, and then you start doing Swift documentation on corporate paper that we design. We do it that way. So we did go through the SWIFT codes, look through them, stated on law who we are, and this is a breakup of that particular study. The actual documentation is a little bit longer than this, but here are some of the codes that we defined: MT 600, MT 700, MT 800, MT 900. You all probably used the MT 100 and 110 when you set up your SWIFT account, most likely, because most people focus on those first 2 or 3 codes. And then we notified, issued it actually from King County Superior Court, from the bench there, and it's not the bench where we stand. And we notified and sent all that needed to be done there. The documentation was received and signed for by the subject in the office of manager at Rainier, which bank was that? Oh, Navy Federal Credit Union, which we know we're Navy Federal Credit Union. But we did this back, and again, it's for all Moors, for everyone, to do that. We stated the Constitution for the United States. We also stated the Universal Commercial Code 1, Article 9, right of possession. And we stated a few other things. Again, this was on, and when did we do this? This was done January 2021. Yeah, December 14th, 2021. So, we did do some study on the SWIFT system, and then we proclaimed our own authority over the SWIFT system in 2021. And we've seen the results of us properly proclaiming our own ancient system. So with that being stated, even the emails that they were sending back and forth, you just had to put whatever the code is that for whatever you're sending, and that would cause the system, the algorithm, to file it in the proper place with regard to whatever digits and ones and zeros are being sent across the line, because it's just an electronic funds transfer, just like an email is. But we appreciate all of the information and the knowledge and the wisdom, because when we come together, nobody can stop us. Nobody. I mean, we have all of the information among us. All we have to do is keep sharing it like we're doing today. So with that being stated, anything else from this great and Islam nobility?
You asked if there was any other volunteers to work with them,
to assist, or if you want assist or desire assistance.
I don't need assistance at this point, or require assistance, correction, but I'm willing to assist, especially when it came to the suggestion of doing some mock trials or court actions. I would definitely be interested in assisting in that regard.
Beautiful.
But if someone needed assistance, I'm certainly available and put myself out for that as well, for demonstrations. Okay?
Islam, thank you, nobility.
You're welcome.
Islam. And then for those, Islam Empress.
And
Go
I'm
ahead.
available as well if needed. This is Abina from Rich Territory.
Beautiful.
Islam, for the 2 people that just said that, can you put your emails in the chat?
Sure.
Gratitude, I yield.
Islam.
I think
and then,
I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, Empress.
My apologies. I was just saying that I think I got everybody, but still email me. I want to make sure I don't miss anyone. And I also want to share something that is attached to this that I learned just from even watching the IG video today, why they really have no power even on a corporate level. With any type of debt they're claiming you owe, with non-payment, quote unquote, after 4 months, they automatically discharge that, meaning they write that off on their taxes, right? That by law gives you clearance to write that off on your taxes and get a kickback from that. They know that. They don't want you to know that. So what they do is they sell it to a third-party interloper called a collection agency and try to collect. So the debt is not yours from the very beginning. Once you stop, quote-unquote, paying, because they know there's no such thing as payment. And I also sent the House Joint Resolution form to them when I sent all this stuff. I'll send everything I sent. But I just learned just on a corporate level, they really have no power. After 4 months of non-payment, they write it off and get all the money back anyway. Then you're supposed to be able to do the same thing as the true creditor. But they sell it to a third-party interloper before you even have time to figure it out or even know what's going on. And then these people harass you for the rest of your life until you, quote-unquote, pay. So even on a corporate level, they have no jurisdiction, no power. It's just they bank on the fact that we are ignorant to these laws. But anyone on this call is no longer ignorant.
I confirm.
There it is.
I confirm exactly what you said is 100% true because I've proven that. Confirm.
You said you've proven that?
Absolutely.
Ashe.
Islam, indeed. For those who may not be familiar, or if you want to study the court action process, I'll put a link in the chat to one of our court actions that we've done because we've done many. We will put the one that we did, and you can use any of the court action language. And again, anything that we state on these calls or that we put, or these congressional assemblies, or that we put on the public record in terms of documentation that you want to edit for your own use and change it or do whatever you want to do with it, feel free to do that. Okay, we're not proprietary about our information because the information belongs to all of us. That's another reason why we don't charge for information, because the information belongs to the people. And so I did put a court action that we did a while ago. This was actually the court action that we did on the subject previously doing business as Donald Trump. So we knew that at some point that was going to manifest. What manifested about 2 or 3 weeks ago. But we have to say it first. And once we say it first from our Article 3 courts, then it manifests at the lower levels, you know. So if there's nothing further, we will adjourn until Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and where we will meet again, this great and grand Congress and judicial, executive, and legislative body. We are appreciative and grateful for each and every one of us and all of us together. We're very powerful, and we know that, and that's just a fact. With that being stated, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs, Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Grand rising.
Grand failure, Negroes. Grand failure. Grand failure. Get ready for your cardboard box, Malaya. Grand failure, Malaya. Get ready for your cardboard box, Malaya.
Grand
failure, Negroes. Grand failure, Negroes.
We are so
grand failure, that's a spell.
We're so powerful,
grand
indeed.
Failure, Negroes. Grand failure, Negroes.
We are so powerful.
Grand.
Uh-oh. Was someone saying something? I don't think so.
The concept that we hear proves that we're great. It's an echo of like our greatness. The more we hear Ev vocally, ebb and flow, like if they work together. So
yes, indeed.
Hear hate, that's just a reflective of just how great we are.
Yes, indeed, indeed.
Poetry in motion.
Yes, and because he lingered even though.
Woo! I think I get more laughs from that foolishness than because it's just so foolish. It's so
because
foolish.
We're so stupid. He lingered.
Wow, we cannot be stopped. Islam, Grand Rising, indeed.
I'm gonna tell you, so
Grand